So having battery power and being able to use solar to recharge those batteries is important for any SUV camping. And so when I started, I bought a 200-watt solar panel and a Jackery battery pack and thought I would charge it that way. It's worked very well, except for the solar panels, which are designed to mount on the ground. I quickly found out, especially in desert conditions, which are windy and dusty, that it is just not an efficient way to charge the battery. They blow over, they get dusty and dirty, and just aren't a great way to keep things fully charged. When I initially went to Big Bend on my first trip back in January of 2022, I decided to try to mount the solar panels on my roof rack just using bungee cords and leaning up against the cargo box. That worked pretty well, but found that it was still very windy and didn't keep the solar panels at an optimal angle. So I realized I had to come up with a more permanent way to mount them, but a way to do that with the ability to take it down but still keep it rigid. Now, could I have bought a rigid solar panel to put on top of my cargo box to start with, like other people have done? Yes, I absolutely could have. But I'd already made the investment in a very expensive 200-watt solar panel, so wanted to come up with another option. All the pieces and parts I'm going to talk about came from Amazon, and I'll put them in the comments. The first step were to find some poles that I could mount the solar panels on, thinking that a rigid pole would be the best bet. And I landed on curtain rods. These curtain rods, which I bought on Amazon, where all great things come from, are in sections, which allow me to unscrew the sections and store them easily inside the SUV when I'm not using them. The next step was to find a way to attach the solar panels to those poles, and I came across a little ingenious device that people who are into custom cars might know about. There are these quick release latches that are designed for hoods of cars and bumpers, and I was able to screw those into the poles and then use those latches to go into the grommets that are in the four corners of the solar panel. This allows me to quickly hook the solar panel up and then reach up and do and undo the latch fairly easily when I'm trying to install it. The next step was to mount the poles to the SUV itself. I found these neat clamps that are used by four-wheel drivers to attach fishing poles and other poles to the outside of their stuff for four-wheel driving, and attached two of them to the cargo box for the upper pole. You note I had used some spacers, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then for the lower pole, I found some Yakima brackets, also on Amazon for roof mounts, and then attached the two other brackets to that for the lower pole. Here's the final assembly. Note that the spacers that I talked about earlier on top of the cargo box allow the poles to go out straight. They would actually, not be parallel if I didn't do that, which means they would not support the solar panel. This is surprisingly rigid. It works in high winds very, very well. I wouldn't drive around in it, say over 10 miles an hour. It's really designed to be only done at camp. And also notice that the poles extend out further on the windshield. That's so I can get the hatch open. Here's a picture of it set up in the field in Utah. I've used it now for a couple of trips and it works like a charm.